So I'm here with Heather Rupp, our bookkeeper and kind of finance accountant extraordinaire for Starry Night, as well as for me personally. She's been an invaluable, wonderful asset to our team, as well as just to my artistic life and figuring out what write-offs to use, what's legal, what's appropriate, what's totally inappropriate. So I just want to say thank you so much, Heather, for joining me in this little interview here.
No problem.
So let's see, how long have we been working together? I think it's been about a year now. We've been sort of plugging away on various projects. My odd little art project doing this, art project doing that. Oops, also a business here and there kind of stuff.
Yep, that's about right.
So I hope that that we're able to keep the volume high enough for you. I know that we're doing this over Skype, so it might sound a little bit funny. Are you able to hear me?
I am, yes.
Oh, okay. So tell me a little bit about how you got into bookkeeping and sort of, you know, some of the best practices that you've come to know that everybody kind of needs to understand.
I started in bookkeeping. I was a receptionist and a secretary, and I just started adding on more responsibilities regarding accounts payable, receivable, and it started to pique my interest. So I had taken some classes, and I just decided I wanted to get more involved with that, and I started going forward with bookkeeping and accounting fields and kind of went from there.
Wow. So how long have you been doing it now?
Almost 15 years.
Oh my gosh. So for really small businesses, I know you've kind of specialized in that a little bit, at least when you started out with me and everything. It looks like you really understand the sole proprietor and smaller company kind of situation. Is that right?
Yes.
Yeah. So what do you find is a common, I don't know, just a common mistake that people make that you usually have to clean up when you first get started with a sole proprietor or just a one person, one-stop shop kind of person?
Common mistake. I really haven't come across a whole lot of them. It's just more so of everybody's different. Everybody has different deductions or credits when it comes to tax filing, but a lot of times people will, in doing the profit and loss statements, they will have the wrong thing in the wrong category. So it's just a matter of pointing them in the right direction and letting them know, hey, this belongs here, this should go somewhere else, things like that.
Yeah, that makes sense. I know that that's something that you really helped me to figure out early on was, does this go here? Why? Why would it go there? I don't understand. But, I think that after really getting things sorted out with you, I definitely came to understand how even if I got a grant for, $1,000, if I didn't track my expenses against that money that came in, I was going to pay taxes on that $1,000. When really, if I got $1,000 to do a project, but I spent 500 of it or 800 of it directly on, the art supplies to make the piece, then I don't have to pay taxes on $1,000. I only have to pay taxes on the part that I actually made, and learning that difference, figuring out just that, even if you don't love math and understand math at all, just knowing that if you track those, there's a reason why people hold on to their receipts, but what's the reason? And it's really that, that money going against the money that comes in is what keeps you from having to pay taxes, extra taxes that you actually aren't supposed to have to pay. So I think a lot of people end up, especially artists, we just end up overpaying because we don't know how to track those expenses and deductions.
And that's a lot of it. A lot of people don't exactly know what to do, what not to do, and then they'll get stuck at the end of the year worrying that Uncle Sam's going to chase after them if they don't pay taxes on all of this money, and then they come to find out down the road, it could be 1 year, could be 5 years, that they've way overpaid and they have to try to get that money back.
Yeah, and then, if you have to overpay and then try to get it back, you usually lose that much money that you're going to get back in just having someone track it down for you and figure it all out for you anyway, or in all the time that's lost. So it just seems like, I feel like I've kind of learned my lesson in working with someone who knows what they're doing like you, and just right from the beginning, so it's like, okay, I don't end up kind of halfway doing it and halfway screwing it up and then needing to file again and get someone to fix it and then go back and forth. That makes everything's more expensive. You might as well just overpay on your taxes, which it just seems like now that I know and I've been through the wrong way and I've come out hopefully the right way, it's just easier to hire someone, even if it's just for a few hours, a year, or a few hours every few months, to just kind of look things over and put them in the right category. Is that kind of how you work as well?
It is. And I feel a great sense of accomplishment when I can help somebody out, like I've been helping you. And it's not just you, but it's anybody. When you help somebody out that feels like they're kind of stuck or lost, and you straighten things out for them, just the relief that they feel, and that the sense of accomplishment that I feel, knowing that now they're going in the right direction.
Yeah. And I mean, have you been working with a lot of single, small folks for a while, or do you have a lot of like larger clients, and so you're doing like really complicated stuff? I mean, do you have a place in your practice to work with individuals very often?
I'm starting to. There's a couple that I've been working with, sole proprietors, but I'm more accustomed to working with larger manufacturing or construction businesses, where it is more complicated, and the taxes and liabilities are more complicated. But I enjoy both ends of the spectrum. Working with the smaller sole proprietors, you get to know them, and it's more of a better relationship than you would have with a larger company. For
sure. Do you have maybe just like a story of someone that you got involved with, you got in there, and then you really had a ball of yarn to untangle? Have you had any real nightmares of like people that you were just like, oh my Lord, how did you make it to me?
I do. I was working with a younger girl who started an online business, and she literally brought me 2 boxes of receipts and papers, and she just kind of said, I don't know what to do, can you sort through all of this? And I had to start from square one and enter all of her receipts and all of her payments, and it was like building a house from the foundations going up. And she really had, nothing was organized, nothing was in the right place, and she just had receipts for everything, but none of them made sense. I mean, there were personal receipts mixing with business receipts, and it was just a nightmare to start with. But once everything got organized, she just kind of looked at me with this huge look of relief, like, oh, thank God.
Well, I guess, is that the one, if there's just one basic thing that, that someone should remember if they're going to have even the smallest creative business, the smallest thing where they're making any money off of any sale of anything, I mean, what's the one main thing that people need to, like, that they could do to make their lives easier? Is it like save your receipts in a shoebox and find a nice person like you? Is it, don't wait until the end of the year? Is it open a business account? Is it like, what is the one biggest thing that would make, someone's life easier and ultimately make, making money cheaper for them?
It's kind of all 3 of those things that you said. First of all, organize your receipts.
But organizing how, like, according to, like, to what?
I do it with file folders. A shoebox is great, but at the end of the year, you're still going to have to sort through that shoebox to figure out what's what. But file folders, put anything office related in a file folder that says office receipts, or meals and entertainment in a meals and entertainment folder. And then open a business account, because you don't want to mix personal with business. That's just going to convolute and confuse things for whoever's doing your taxes. And then find somebody that you can trust, that knows what they're doing, to get everything in order for you.
Yeah. So
don't wait till the end of the year.
Don't wait till the end of the year. Everyone's busy around tax time. They're not going to have any time to help you. Well, so if an artist was gonna try to keep their art, money that came in and the money that went out and those deductions, that they were gonna try to, lower that tax bill on any money that they made on their art, whether it was grants or anything else, what if they didn't have a business license? I mean, is it enough to just have a separate account of any sort?
Yeah, I would say that they should keep anything business related in a business account. That just makes it so much simpler, not only for them, but for whoever is going to file their tax return and do their accounting for them. So they don't have to pick through any personal receipts or transactions versus what any supplies they may have purchased or anything of that nature.
So when you say business account, though, if somebody didn't go out and get a business license, they're just using using their own name. So that's called a sole proprietor. Like if they're just going to do that, when you say business account, that's really just a separate account that they would only dedicate for business purposes, right?
Right, correct.
Okay. So just separating it, even if it's under their same name, just a separate checking account, or even if it's just a savings account, whatever, that money is going to just sit in to track it.
Right, exactly.
Okay, well, thank you. Is there anything else that you feel like it's like your personal soapbox, just what you think that people really need to remember when they're trying to go it alone and when they're out there? I mean, is there any great advice that you've just come across that you just wish more people knew about?
Just the organization of hanging on to anything that they may have purchased or any grants, like you had said. Just keeping everything organized is probably the best piece of advice I can give anybody. And find somebody reputable. There's a lot of fly-by-nighters that are going to say they can do something and may not necessarily be able to follow through on it. So finding that person that you can trust and that has the ability and capability of doing what you want them to do.
Okay, that sounds great. Well, so there's just a couple of questions that I ask pretty much everyone, and one is, do you have any books that you've been reading, whether it's bookkeeping related or not, just in general, just that have really sparked your interest and that you kind of give away often, or that you recommend often, or that you have recently really liked?
One that I really like, and it's going to sound really strange, but it's called The Heroin Diaries, written by Nikki Sixx, and it's just a story of his life and how he was way down in the gutter and he built himself back up and became sober, and how anybody can do anything that they set their mind to.
That's great. I love that. That's wonderful. And then one other question is, so are you more of a night owl or kind of an early bird? It seems like, well, I ask this mostly of creative people because with creatives, there's always this stereotype. You got to really think this way. If you're going to be really creative, you stay up late at night and you drink wine and forget how to tie your shoes or something. I don't know what you do, but there's these stereotypes of what it is to be a creative thinker versus an analytical thinker. And I like to figure out if there are any times that you have your peak hours that you're going to think the best, whether it's analytically or creatively.
I tend to be a night owl.
You're a night owl?
I am. Anytime from like 7 o'clock at night onward, I stay up pretty late. So I'm more of a functioning person after dinner. In the morning, not so much.
Yeah. Well, thank you. I agree with you completely. I'm pretty much a night owl person too. I've been starting to try to shift it, but it's just like my brain just wakes up at night. I can't help it. But anyway, thank you so much for your help and your advice and all of the help you've given me personally. And I guess I'm going to be putting in any notes around this interview, how people can get in touch with you if they want bookkeeping services. Is that something that you've got, that you're offering, that you have room for, or do you have like a big backlog of folks that already want a lot of bookkeeping?
No, absolutely. If anybody is interested, they're free to contact me.
All right, I'll be sure to put your email and your any contact info into the notes that we have. Well, thank you so much for doing this. It's just great to be able to chat with you briefly, and thanks for taking the time to do this. I hope that our audio was good enough over over the great distances. But thank you.
No problem.
All right, I'll talk to you soon, Heather.
All right.
Bye.
Bye.